Bang Hyuk speaks out. The dark truth about Taehyung and Jungkook leaves ARMY in tears. What really happened between Taehyung and Jungkook? Why did Bang Hyuk suddenly decide to break his silence after years of keeping everything behind closed doors? And more importantly, why is ARMY left in shock, some even in tears after his statement surfaced? These are the questions shaking the global BTS fandom as a new storm of controversy unfolds. One that no one expected, but everyone feared was lurking beneath the surface. For more than a decade, BTS stood as the symbol of unity, loyalty, and brotherhood. Their bond, often portrayed as unshakable, became the foundation of the group's meteoric rise. Yet now, with Bang Hyuk himself daring to reveal details long hidden, fans are forced to question everything they thought they knew about the relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook. What exactly did he see? What truth is so dark that it shattered the hearts of millions? The story begins not in the glitter of global stages, but in the quiet backstage corners where pressure, expectations, and silent struggles weigh heavier than any spotlight. Bang Hyuk, often described as the architect of BTS's global empire, remained silent for years as rumors circulated. He let the world believe in the picture-perfect image of harmony, but his words now cut like a knife. There were moments when their bond was tested beyond what anyone could imagine. The truth is, not everything was as it seemed. These words alone have set off a firestorm. What kind of trials did Taehyung and Jungkook face? Were their smiles on stage nothing more than a mask to cover the tension boiling underneath? Fans across social media have begun piecing together moments, past interviews, and cryptic interactions that suddenly take on new meaning. A subtle glance, a missed embrace, a forced laugh. Every detail now feels like a clue in a mystery that ARMY desperately wants to solve. But why reveal it now? Why would Bang Hyuk, who always insisted on protecting the group's privacy, suddenly open a wound that many did not even realize existed? Some insiders suggest that his confession is not an attack, but rather a cry of honesty, a way to finally free both Jungkook and Taehyung from the suffocating expectations that chained them for years. Others, however, believe it is a calculated move, a way to prepare fans for an even bigger truth that has yet to come to light. And the emotional weight of this revelation is immense. Fans recall the countless times Taehyung and Jungkook stood by each other during storms of criticism. They remember the airport photos where Jungkook shielded Taehyung, the award show moments when Taehyung's hand rested on Jungkook's shoulder, the raw tears both shared when speaking of their struggles. Could those very moments now carry a darker meaning? Were they acts of comfort, or desperate attempts to hold together a bond that was already breaking? In the world of K-pop, image is everything. Yet Bang Hyuk's admission exposes the fragility behind the facade. They loved each other like brothers, he explained, his tone reportedly heavy with regret. But sometimes love turns into pressure, and pressure becomes pain. People do not always see what happens behind the curtains. With these words, the illusion of perfection collapsed, replaced by an uneasy question. What exactly was that pain, and who was responsible for it? The fandom is divided. Some ARMY insist that this is nothing but exaggeration, a way to stir controversy at the expense of Taehyung and Jungkook's reputation. Others, however, cannot ignore the uneasy feeling that the cracks have been visible all along. They point to Taehyung's emotional breakdowns, Jungkook's distant stares, and their moments of absence from each other during key events. Could these be the shadows Bang Hyuk is hinting at? Every revelation seems to birth new mysteries. If Taehyung and Jungkook truly faced such deep struggles, why did they remain silent? Why endure years of wait in secrecy? Was it loyalty to the group, or fear of disappointing ARMY, who always demanded strength and unity? These questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they always will. Yet one thing is certain: the emotional storm unleashed cannot be undone. What hurts fans most is not the existence of conflict, but the possibility that both idols suffered silently for the sake of appearances. To imagine Jungkook forcing a smile while his heart was heavy, or Taehyung swallowing his pain to avoid headlines, is enough to break anyone who has followed their journey from the beginning. They deserved freedom, not cages. One fan wrote on Twitter, echoing the sentiment of thousands. And now, with Bang Hyuk's statement hanging like a shadow over everything, fans cannot help but brace themselves. Is this only the beginning? Will more secrets surface? Secrets that could alter the legacy of BTS forever for ARMY, who once believed in an unbreakable bond. This revelation feels like betrayal wrapped in sorrow. Yet paradoxically, it also makes their love for Taehyung and Jungkook even stronger. Because behind the perfection, they are human. Humans who cry, struggle, and sometimes fall apart. And maybe, just maybe, that truth is harder to accept than any rumor. The tears flooding fan timelines are not only for the past, but also for the uncertainty of the future. Will Taehyung and Jungkook emerge stronger, united despite everything? Or will this revelation mark the start of a new, painful chapter in BTS's history? Only time will tell. But for now, the world waits, breathless, for the next word, the next confession, the next piece of the puzzle. Because if Bang Hyuk has dared to open this door, what lies beyond may be darker and more heartbreaking than anyone can imagine. The storm did not stop with Bang Hyuk's words. In fact, his confession acted like a spark thrown into dry leaves. It ignited a wildfire of speculation, debate, and emotional breakdowns within the fandom. From Seoul to New York, from Jakarta to Paris, ARMY found themselves glued to their screens, dissecting every syllable, every gesture, every silent pause in the years-long relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook. The more they revisited the past, the more unsettling the picture became. On Korean online communities, longtime fans began resurfacing clips from as far back as 2016, highlighting moments that now carry an eerie weight. A rehearsal video where Taehyung appeared unusually distant from Jungkook. A backstage clip where Jungkook's laughter seemed forced, his eyes betraying exhaustion. A candid shot at the airport where the two walked together, yet barely exchanged words. Were these simple coincidences of fatigue and stress, or signs of something darker simmering beneath the surface? Western media outlets quickly caught on, amplifying the story far beyond the walls of the fandom. Rolling Stone published an op-ed questioning whether K-pop's relentless pursuit of perfection comes at the expense of emotional truth. The New York Times asked a blunt question: did Bang Hyuk just dismantle the myth of BTS's unbreakable brotherhood? Meanwhile, Korean press walked a fine line, torn between protecting national icons and acknowledging the cracks Bang Hyuk had revealed. For ARMY in Indonesia, the Philippines, Brazil, and other countries where BTS's presence is more than just music, this revelation carried a deeply personal sting. Fans described sleepless nights, tears shed while scrolling through old concert videos, and a collective ache that words could hardly capture. It feels like losing something pure we held on to, one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "We thought their smiles were our strength. Now we wonder if they were silently asking for help." And yet, in the middle of this emotional collapse, a new kind of loyalty began to rise. Many fans declared that if Jungkook and Taehyung carried pain in silence, then ARMY's duty was to embrace them louder than ever. Hashtags like #ProtectTaehyung and #WeLoveYouJungkook trended worldwide within hours. Thousands of fans gathered in online spaces not only to grieve but to strategize. How to show the boys that their worth was never tied to perfection. How to remind them that even broken bonds deserve compassion. But what lies ahead remains uncertain. Industry insiders whisper that Bang Hyuk's statement was only a fragment of a much larger truth, a truth that may eventually surface in documentaries, books, or interviews that cannot be silenced forever? Could it be that both idols fought not just against personal struggles, but against an entire system that demanded their silence? If so, how much more remains hidden from the fans who gave them everything? The weight of these questions lingers like heavy fog. Every army feels it. Every journalist speculates about it. And every casual observer who once admired BTS's rise is now forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that behind the glitz of stadium tours and Grammy nominations lies a reality far more fragile than anyone dared admit. Perhaps the most haunting part of Bang, Hyuk's revelation is not the conflict itself, but the silence that surrounded it for so long. Silence is heavy. Silence is suffocating. And if Jungkook and Taehyung carried that silence for years, then the tears of ARMY today are not just for the truth revealed, but for the pain endured in shadows, unseen and unheard. As the world waits for what comes next, one thing has become painfully clear. The story of Taehyung and Jungkook is no longer just about two idols in the world's biggest group. It has become a mirror, reflecting the price of fame, the cost of silence, and the weight of expectations too heavy for even the brightest stars to carry alone.